So let's see what is Ansible and its advantage. So Ansible is an open source tool. It comes under DevOps umbrella. It is used basically for configuration management, deployment, and it is a very good orchestration tool. So configuration management means if suppose we are doing installation and configuration part of WebLogic, so we can do it through Ansible. So that is why this terminology is being used. Deployment, we can automate our deployments through Ansible. And orchestration means that the whole workflow Ansible can be integrated with our other DevOps tools, and the whole workflow can be automated through Ansible. It is very simple to configure Ansible. I mean, installation is very simple. It is not that complex, and we can automate n number of hosts with the help of Ansible, and we can do tasks on more than one host in a very simpler manner. Next is that it works on agentless model. It is not like Puppet and Chef that we require an agent running on the host machines. So it works on the push-based architecture because we are not installing or configuring any agent on our host machine. So we just have to do all the configuration on controller machine, and your host should be accessible for our controller machine, and then we can automate our tasks. Next is that it uses a YAML language, which is very easy to understand and quite easy to read it. Next is Ansible modules. It works over JSON, and therefore it can be developed in any programming language, and any of the developer can develop their own modules, and we can use it with Ansible to automate our things. Next is that it requires a Python as a base. So the host machine should have Python if we are installing Ansible or if we are working on the Ansible. So Python is a must. And it uses SSH protocol to connect to other Linux machine. If we have Windows host, it can be connected through Windows remote machine. So best thing is that if we have a keyless of the host machine, so we'll use SSH protocol to connect it. And the controller is always a Linux based. That means we have to configure the controller on a Linux based OS. If SSH protocol is not there, so Ansible also can work with other authentication management system like Browse and LDAP, like we are doing in WebLogic or WebSphere as a middleware. So it can use other authentication mechanism as well. Next is installation of Ansible. So if we are having a Linux based OS or Ubuntu, so yum install Ansible and apt install Ansible is the command through which we can install Ansible through yum repository. And before that we have to update our Apple repository. So these are the commands which we can use to install the Ansible. So next is Ansible architecture. So these are the basic 4 components which we use in Ansible architecture. That is, we must have a playbook in which we'll write our logic and task, and modules which are already pre-installed when we are installing Ansible, or if we have a customized develop module. And there is one configuration file called ansible.cfg. It is the main configuration file. And fourth is inventory, in which we are mentioning all our host details. And in middle you can see this is our controller machine, and in the bottom we have the host machine. So this is the basic architecture diagram which shows the Ansible working. We'll understand the working later on, but before that we'll understand each component in detail. So let's start with the component that is Ansible inventory and config file. So inventory default path is etc Ansible host if we install it, and as you all can see in the diagram, we can group our host and we can mention our group name, and below that we can mention all the host IP, or if we have a host name we can even mention that as well. The best part is that we can mention the IP range. I mean, we don't have to write if I have 100 IPs, I don't have to write 100 IPs. I can just write 1:100. That means all my 100 IP will be invoked when I'm running Ansible. The same way we can define it to alphabet. And if suppose any of the host machine you have which is individual, which is not part of any group, you want to not make any part of group, then you can mention it in the upper part of the host file, and it is called as an ungrouped host. So you can invoke in your playbook a single IP as well. Next is the config file. The default path is etc ansible.cfg. This is the main config file when we install Ansible. So as you can see, Ansible space --version. We can see the Ansible version detail. This is the latest one, that is 2.9. This is the latest Ansible version. And below that you can see a Python version which it is using. So it should be 2.7 and higher, the Python for this Ansible. And as I told you, the default path of host file is Ansible, etc Ansible host. These are the hosts which we have mentioned in our host file. As you can see in the top is the square bracket, and that it is written OE server. So this is my group name which I would be invoking in my playbook, and below is the IPs. So this way we can define the group and the host. And next you can see is the variable. So we can define our variable which we would be using in our playbook like this way also in our host file. And since the WebLogic path is not standard over here, so we are mentioning our WebLogic path through variables in our host file only. So we would be invoking in our playbook. Below you can see EPC server group. So this I would be using for the demo purpose in my playbook today. And as you can see, I mentioned a range just to show you that 86:87. So this way we can define our range also in our host file. Next was the configuration file. So as I told you, the default path is etc ansible.cfg. Yeah. So this is the main configuration file, and as you can see, by default everything is commented, and it will pick all the default path which is there during the installation of Ansible. That is our host, inventory file, library, Python libraries and modules. And above that, the 3 line in the paragraph, you can see that we can have our own configuration file as well. Like if suppose we are having different environments, so we can have our own configuration file. So while we are invoking the playbook, or while we are running the playbook, so Ansible picks the configuration file in this order, that it will find the ansible.cfg in the current working directory first. Then it will find a .ansible cfg if it is available in the home directory of the user through which you are logged in. And finally, it will check the default path, that is ansible.cfg in the etc folder. So if it doesn't find in above 2 condition, then it will finally reach to the default path. So this is the main configuration file. As you can see, there is a color coding available in the configuration file as well. So these colors we see in the output, and if we are integrating with Jenkins, so there is a plugin available called Ansible Color plugin, which you can integrate with the Jenkins to see the output. So these were the 2 components, that is the host and Ansible, which we have seen. Let's proceed with the other components. So next is our Ansible playbook. So this is the main file in which we are defining our task, So Ansible playbook is written in YAML syntax, and the command to play a playbook is Ansible-playbook space the file name. So in the diagram, as you can see, we have a playbook. We have place in it, and we have task in it. So we can have multiple tasks in our play, and with the help of module, that is our libraries or which is developed in Python, these whole task logic is running actually on your host machine. So this is the diagram which is explaining same. We'll see the demo of playbook as well. And before that, let's proceed. What is exactly module is? So next, it is a block of Python code that gets executed on the remote host. In simple terms, whatever task the module which we are invoking, it will get combined and it will get executed in your host machine. So I'll play a video for this. So as you can see, we are running our task through Ansible playbook. It is picking up the required modules, and these both things are combined and executed on your host machines. So this is what module is. Let's see a practical of this. So first I would be explaining Ansible module. So there is a command called Ansible-doc space -l. So this will give you a list of modules which are installed in your controller machine. Right? But if suppose you want to see the details of a particular module, so how you can do that? So you can write Ansible-doc again, and if suppose you want to check the detail of copy module, so you can write Ansible-doc space copy. So as you can see above, it is showing the path where the copy Python code exists. I mean, this is the module path. And in rest paragraph, you can see the detail of the copy module it is using. Below this, you can see option equal to is a mandatory. So this is what it is showing, that when we are using this module, we have to give a certain arguments. So any argument with equal to sign has to be present whenever we are using this module. It is mandatory. Rest of the module is not mandatory. So for example, for this copy module, yeah. So you can see destination is with the equal to sign. So this is the mandatory argument which we have to use with the copy if we are invoking a copy module. Below, I mean, in the bottom part, you can see examples also that how you can use this module in your playbook. So if you see any module detail, you will get the example in the bottom part through Ansible-doc command. So how actually you can use in your Ansible playbook. So this helps a lot. Fine. Let us see a demo of playbook. Yeah. So this is our demo file, check process.eml. As you can see in the playbook, it should always start with 3 hyphen. This is the mandatory thing when we are developing our playbook. And one optional thing is that you can end your playbook with 3 dots. So that is the optional part. We have to start with your host, that in which host actually you are running. So you can mention your group name, which we have mentioned in our host file, or you can give a particular IP if you want to run your playbook in a single host. Otherwise, you have to mention your group. So it will run on all hosts which is there in your group. Fine. Next is the task in which we are actually implementing our logic. So as you can see, this is a simple playbook in which we are checking date of the host machine. Then we are checking uptime. So we are using a shell module to invoke this date and uptime. And also I've deliberately written uptime command wrong to show you the output that when your playbook gets failed, then what will be the output of this. And the third task, as you can see, we are grepping our Java process. Rest is commented, so we'll talk about later. Also in your playbook, we don't have to use tab. So we have to take care of the indentation. We can only use spaces. So we have to be very particular when we are giving this special spaces. This all should be in one line. So this is very important. Otherwise it will give you a syntax error. So let's execute this and see. Before executing, there is a few useful command which we can use in Ansible. Is that Ansible playbook check process. Yeah. So one argument is ---- list and -host. So this is very useful command before you are actually running your playbook. If you will hit it, it will give you output of the host in which your playbook would actually be running. So as you can see there, these are the IPs which are there in the group. So this will show you IP details in which your playbook would actually be running. The next useful command is --syntax -check. So this will give you a plain output. That means your playbook doesn't have a syntax error. If suppose, I'll show you. If suppose I'm giving a tab, so it should give me a syntax error. So this is how it is giving me a syntax error. It is showing that before shell command there is some syntax problem. So I've used a tab in this, so that is why it is showing me a syntax error. So I would be changing this. So let's proceed to run this playbook. Yeah. So this is the output when we are running our playbook. So in the top, as you can see, there is an fatal. That means there is an error that this host is unreachable below the gathering facts. So I know that this IP is not reachable. That is why it is showing me this error. I deliberately put it in my group of hosts. And rest you can see is okay. That means these hosts are reachable. Below that you can see our first task, which is checking date. It is showing as change. That means it has executed that task. And in next task, it is showing uptime with errors. That means this command is not correct, and it is giving me an error that this command was not run on the host machine. Was run on the host machine, but the command was not found. So it has given me error. And below is the output which you get while running your playbook. So this is the output which you get while running your playbook. So this signifies that, okay, this first host was not reachable. So it has given me unreachable as 1. And next is OK2 means that 2 tasks it has executed, out of which 1 task it was successfully executed and 1 was failed. Now the point to be noted is that we have written a 3 task in our playbook. So as you all can see, it has not executed our third task. So this is how the playbook is actually running, is that Your first task is being executed on your all host machine first. Then is your next task, it is getting executed on your next host machine. So this is how your playbook tasks are invoked. That means your first task will get executed on all the hosts and then your next task. And if any task gets failed, then the remaining task will not get executed in any of the host machine. Fine. I'll be connecting my uptime command. And I'll be running this playbook again. One more thing, for the more detailed output, you can use a verbose argument or -v. You can use n number of v's, it will give you more detailed output. So if we'll put 1v, it will give us a more detailed output. So as you can see in the output is that my first host was not reachable. So it is showing the same thing. And next I corrected my uptime command. So it is showing as OK is 3. That means it has executed 3 tasks, which was there in playbook. Chain 3 means that all the 3 tasks was executed on your host machine and nothing was failed or unreachable for the correct host machine. So above you can see these details was not in the output before. So since we have used -v -verbose, so it is giving me whole detail. It is giving me detail of uptime. It is giving me detail of date as an output. So before it was not giving, we can get this using a -v. So as you can see in your screen is that when we are using -verbose, so it has given me, it is showing me the which configuration file actually it has used. So this is the default Ansible config file it has picked up. If suppose you would be having in your user directory or your current directory, so it would have shown you the configuration path of what it is using. Fine. So this is how you get the output while running an Ansible playbook. So let's see architecture diagram again. So we have understood all the 4 components, that is playbook, module, config, inventory. So this is how it is working. So playbook, all your tasks with the help of module, CFG, your inventory, and then Ansible is running on your host machines. So I hope the architecture is clear now. Okay. So if suppose we are having a one particular command which we want to run in a host file, so we don't have to write a whole playbook. So we can invoke a particular command or task to our host machine or even the group. So let's see a demo. I'm using my same group, that is the EPC server. So let's see what output it gives. So as you can see, it has shown me the detail of the date of the actual host machine which were there in my group. So if you want to execute a particular command, you can do this way using ad hoc command, Ansible ad hoc commands. So these are some examples like ping, date. If you want to copy anything, you can use a copy module to install an Apache server, then you can use. So this is how the ad hoc commands work. Let's proceed with the next slide. Next is the Ansible roles. So what is the Ansible roles? As you can see in the diagram, that it provides you a structured way to develop your project or to develop your playbook. So these are the default directories and files which gets created when we are when we are making a role. So as you can see, default, files, handlers, bots. These are the default folders which is made when you are making a role. How can we make a role? We can make a role through Ansible-Galaxy space init command. After that, we have to mention our role name. So this is how you can make a role. I'll show you in detail with the practical demo. Below that, you can see Ansible Galaxy. So what is Ansible Galaxy? It is basically an online community which are developing roles. So if there is some roles which are already available over there, so you can install in your project using Ansible-Galaxy command. So you can use argument in install and you can get the roles. So if suppose you want to install an Apache, so the community has developed already an Apache role, so you can install it and you can use the same role in your project. So there are many other roles which are already there in the repository, so you can invoke that using this command. So let's see an Ansible role example. So I'm making a one role. So it has given me output that Pathshala role has been created. So let's check what files and folders it has created. So I'll go inside the Pathshala. So as you can see, these are the default folders which it has created when we defined a role. So you can use a tree. You can use a tree command to see which files and which folders it has made. Yeah. So as you can see, these are the default folders and files it has created. So what is the meaning of these folders and files is that, so as you can see the task, this is your main YAML file in which you have to define task which gets invoked when you are running your playbook. Then is the templates. I will explain you with the example. There are handlers and files folders. So if you want to copy any files, you can keep all your files inside the files folder. And then you have got the was and default. So these are the folder and YAML file in which you can place your variables which you are using in your Ansible roles. So default is the default variables which are there for your roles, and vars is also the same variables which you can use in your roles. But if we are running a playbook using a role, then vars YAML file, I mean the variable which we are mentioning in the vars folder will get more priority than default folder. So we'll see an example with this. I've made a role. So inside task, I have check date and main.yaml. So this is the same kind of thing which we have done, which we have invoked earlier. So as you can see, I'm importing a check date YAML file. So this is how you can import your another YAML file. Then I'm checking uptime, the same. Then I've mentioned a template, and I've given a source file and destination file. So what is template is that this is a file in which you can call your variables and its value. So you can have a dummy file, you can place your variables inside that, and when we are invoking our playbook, it gets replaced to our key value of that variable. So we'll see an example. So this file you can see inside your template folder. So as you can see, this is my template file. My name is, and with the curly bracket, I've mentioned name. So this is the variable which I'm using in my template file. And where I've declared the key value is, you can find it when inside the vars. So inside where's folder, you have got a main file, main YAML file. So you can see I've defined a name variable, same variable which was there in my template file, and I've given a key value as my name. So when I'll invoke this role, when I'll run this role, the destination file, you'll see the key value is getting placed in my file, template file. Below this is the third task, which we have already run earlier, is the grep Java process. And below this, I have used a notify command. So what this notify actually is that if your upper task will get run successfully, then your notify will get invoked. So whatever name is mentioned in the notify, like I mentioned the file copy, so it will check in handlers. So as you can see the main YAML file in handlers. So again, you can see the same name, file copy, and a task. So this is how you can use your notify module inside your YAML file. So it will notify to invoke another task if your upper task is successfully. So this is how you use a notify and handler. So let's run this role and see the output. So how you are invoking your role to your host machine. So you can do this like this way. This is a main YAML file and we are invoking our roles. So the main another use of this role is that you don't have to write your playbook again. You can. So this is how we are invoking our roles in our main playbook file. So we can use role tag and then we have to give the role path. So let's execute this and see the output. Ansible playbook. So as you can see in my single host file, it has run all the 5 tasks and it has changed on the destination server. Fine. So I'll show another feature of Ansible is that I'll run this playbook again. So now as you can see is that the change value has been reduced to 3. So this is what is called as idempotent. That means earlier we have copied a file that was file copy and my template file. It has also been copied earlier. So it has not repeated. It has not retried to copy on the destination server again. So this is what we call the idempotent feature which is there in the Ansible module. So let's see the destination host machine and let's check whether the file is present or not. So as you can see, my template file and my copied file is there and my key value has been replaced by variable, that is my name, which was there in my template file. So this is how you can make use of role. So Ansible, there were certain drawbacks of Ansible is that it provides a CLI and we are not able to see any historical data that what inventory file we have executed earlier. So Red Hat has developed an Ansible tower for that. It gives you a GUI and historical data to store that what playbooks you are running. So since it is a license-based product, so we were unable to show you in as it is restricted here. So these are the screenshot of Ansible tower. You can see the inventory host and you can do all your configuration part in this tool only through GUI. And you can make your roles as we have done in CLI part. And even you can grant permission to each user. So the authorization part also you can do with the Ansible tower tool. So since it is a license-based product, so most of the organization are not using it. So to overcome this, we have integrated with a pipeline and Jenkins. So we have used a Blue Ocean plugin. So this is the view how you can create your pipeline. So let's start with it. I'm writing. So as you can see, add steps. So this is where you can invoke your shell scripts, you can print your message, you can build a job. You can call your job or the Jenkins job which is available. You can integrate Ansible tower and you can use jobs in the Ansible tower. You can invoke your Ansible playbook as well, and you can invoke Ansible Vault as well. So these are the options which is there in the Blue Ocean plugin, which you can get involved. So for the demo purpose, I'm just printing message. And let's make another stage. So here I'll show you a proceed. Wait for authentication. Okay, let's make this another name through print a message. So this is the pipeline which we have just made, and I'm clicking on saving. So this will give me an option to save in my master repository or the branch which is available in my GitHub account. So at present I'm proceeding with the master repository. I will click on save and run. So as you can see, my pipeline has been invoked. So earlier what we were using is that if we are using a classic way of Jenkins, so I have to write whole this source code in my pipeline job. And again, I have to take care of the indentation part as well. And there are a lot of syntaxes which we have to use in our pipeline. So the power of Blue Ocean plugin is that you don't have to write your code. You can just make your pipeline. It will automatically generate your source code, which you can use for your pipeline. Let's check our WebLogic patch pipeline. So this is our WebLogic patch pipeline. So as you can see, we are invoking our Ansible playbook, and you can see the output of your playbook in below only. So you don't have to go in on the backend. You can see the output of your Ansible playbook in this dashboard only. So since we were not able to record our history and we were not able to use the GUI feature of Ansible towers, that is why we have used Jenkins and Blue Ocean plugin. So we are overcoming that drawbacks with the help of Jenkins and Blue Ocean. So that is why we have used this plugin and we have integrated with Jenkins. So if suppose any of your job gets failed in your pipeline, like this was failed in our production, so it will not execute your rest of the job and it will simply terminate your whole pipelines. And you can see the log in the below output file only. And if suppose you have fixed your code, so you can click on restart of your job. So it will restart from the same step from where it was failed earlier. So as you can see in the next pipeline, so we restarted our job. Now it has started from stop application job. So this is the power of Blue Ocean plugin, and you can use this feature while working with your production servers. And finally, it was successful. The Ansible playbook in WebLogic patching. One is for checking our patch ID, then for stopping our WebLogic application, then applying WebLogic patch, and then starting our WebLogic application, and finally sending a mail. So this is my first Ansible playbook. What we are doing is that we are invoking our shell command. We are just taking the output from the user. That is the patch ID. We are gathering information and patch name actually. And then we are checking with the condition that actually that file or the patch is present or not in my controller host. So after that, I would be unzipping it and I would be copying it to my host machine. So let's proceed with the next playbook. of stopping our application. Yeah. So in the above part, we have called a variable. We have used a register command, as you can see. So this registers your output when we are running your playbook. And the same variable we can use further in our task. And this is the main part in which we are unzipping our patch. We are copying it to our destination server. And as you can see, we have used a variable called WL home and a patch path, which we have mentioned in our host file, since we do not have a standard path over there. And finally, we are just invoking our WLST script for stopping our WebLogic server. So this is how we have made a playbook for stopping application. Finally is the patch playbook. So here we are invoking again a shell command, that is opatch apply, and we are calling our variables which we have used in our earlier playbook and our host file, and we are using the same variables. So this we would be migrating in our role-based structure. We would be using our vars folder. We would be mentioning there our all variables. So this is the single playbook which we are using at present for our production environment. So after applying patch, we are checking through ls inventory command, and finally we are starting our WebLogic applications. Yeah, so this is the final shell command which we are invoking. This is the WLST based command which we are invoking for the WebLogic start application. So this is how we have developed, we have used Ansible, Jenkins and Blue Ocean exactly to apply patch for our production environments at present.